round 3 already, season 2, Thursday night racing. Tonight, of course, we at Donington Park. Joining me as usual, Mr. Not Fernando.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 3 already. We're in, is it round 3?
Yeah, already round 3, believe it or not.
It's already round 3. It's going by quickly. We're in Donington Park, back in Britain. And we've got a nice grid for you tonight. We've got 11 drivers on the grid.
And it's all human drivers, not one AI.
Currently just looking at Nismax in the pits. Let's get some action on the track. If I can just find my camera angles. Controller not doing so well.
Yeah.
What is going on now? Oh, that's the last thing you need.
You don't have controls. Ooh, tricky.
There we go.
Hey, yay. Mr. Gapic. Guys struggling tonight with a bit of connection. Looks like because the whole internet thing internationally is starting to take its toll on some of the people. And Gapic is one of those guys, unfortunately. Had a good go this week, but has luck with David tonight, race night. Unfortunately, not the best. So let's hope he stays in there. It's always nice to have an extra driver, making it more close racing, of course. And I
Great
must
to have 11 drivers on the grid.
And I must actually say at that same time, sorry Jonathan for interrupting me, I just want to welcome War Machine. Of course, last week he was part of the stream. He was one of the guys on the chat, giving comments, of course, being participating in the chat. Tonight he's actually in the lobby racing with the guys. Welcome, War Machine.
Great to see. That's our stream has resulted in a driver.
Yeah, a driver joining. And if I'm not mistaken, he's all the way from the States.
Yeah, that's right. He's from the United States of America. So no lap times, and as I say that, lap times start to come in. Gavin currently fastest, first lap time, that's a 1:27.2.
Mr. Race Director, can we just have lap times back again, that little slide on the left hand corner in the top? Ooh, and Gappy go off into a barrier straight into the pits. Thank you, Mr. Race Director. Ooh, and we got somebody already with a penalty. Raptor V13. Not a good start. Gav 127. Good lap.
Just want to have a look.
Yeah, 2 grid places.
So 2 grid place penalty for Raptor. Doesn't matter where he qualifies. He's going to have to give up 2 positions. Not the ideal start that he would have wanted. Gavin back in the pits with that provisional pole lap of 1:27.2. Closest to him currently, the winner, 1:27.3, nothing in it, just 0.05 of a second. Probably shouldn't have done that. Probably Chen in third, 2 seconds off the pace. And then Raptor, nobody else really having done a lap time just yet. We have Wazzy there on screen, setting his first flyer of the night.
Surprisingly, didn't get hijacked tonight.
I don't know. He seems to do pretty well on the. He can get here on a Thursday night, but
a Friday
getting there
night.
on a Friday night, it seems to be too much to us.
I see one of Toki's fans say gooi hom Toki. I don't think he must gooi hom, he must keep it on the road. Gooi hom, yeah, when Toki's going to go out, we don't want that. Yo, there's some strange internet lag stuff happening here tonight. Looks like Waz all over the place. And there we go, there's the newcomer, War Machine. On
his debut at round 2 last week, he was in our comment section watching this stream. He has since become one of our drivers. No lap time as of yet. Jen has set a lap time of 1:29.4. Raptor 1:28.1. Just gonna have to remember that that grid plate penalty.
And when Nismax and Vamuna making sure his time dropping even further now below 127. Both of them 126.9. If we have Nismax and Vamuna, of course, the pace they have, if Gaffby can continue with what he started with, we can have a three-way race again. And of course, don't leave out our winner of last week. The judge, if he can continue with his momentum of last week, he will obviously be up there as well.
Obviously, Nismax then took that provisional pole, 126.9.
And Toki goes faster, 126.8. Toki 126.8. Toki goes faster.
Flat. Just 13 minutes remaining in the session.
Is Toki doing a judge tonight? Is he taking the fight to the faster guys?
And obviously remember, this is round 3. When we get to round 5, we will have a special event, 2-hour endurance race. Good luck with that one.
And it's at Bathurst, very tight corner, tight track in some places, barriers.
Just before the race I spent about 20 minutes trying to set a lap time. Did about 7 lap times, none of them were valid. So yeah, guys doing pretty well out there. It's not the easiest racetrack, got some tricky corners, and they feel pretty narrow to get around in this. Well, it feels big.
Yeah, I last drove this track with bikes. I mean, that was like MotoGP and a couple of versions ago.
Yeah, no, the last I can remember quite clearly playing this on EA Sports World Superbikes. It had Donington Park, same game, had Kyalami in it. So I remember it.
Yeah, but good old days before Kyalami was redone as we know it today.
It'd be great to see any simulation car game with the new version of Kyalami as we know it today. It's one heck of a track, one heck of an upgrade. 750 million upgrade.
And of course it's paying dividend. We just had, in November, we just had the 9 hours of Kyalami. And of course from next year we also have a 6 hours of Kyalami with the WEC.
That's the 6-hour WEC event. That is a 2-year contract, so guaranteed for 2021, 2022, and then the 9-hour race has been confirmed for the next decade. So Kyalami will host that race for the next 10 years, which is it's good news.
For those of you who actually is not too far from the track and like motorsport, trust me, that 9-hour race, that event is worth going to. Ooh, big moment there for Toki, goes back into the pit.
Disappears into the pits. Wazzy now on provisional pole. He's beaten that time, that 126.8 flat. He's gone 126.524.
Also guy with some serious pace if he gets going on the night.
Times keep on coming down. Your top 4 are all in the 126s. Gavin all alone there in the 127s. In a bit of a gap back.
But he didn't come out yet again. For some reason he's just hanging around. I mean, only 10 minutes left. Let's see. Maybe he just decides to go late again.
We have AD racing with us today, it appears. It's
so far so good.
Wish him all the best that he can actually finish. He's had a lot of internet connectivity problems in the past that have stopped him from even beginning the race. So this is an improvement at least. He got to qualifying.
Bigger improvement. I mean, from the start till now, he's still here.
Well, looks relatively smooth.
Looks like we had War Machine disconnecting and rejoining because his lap times are showing 0:00. Unless
but
he just didn't posted one yet.
With a slightly modified Ford V8.
But that's the judge. The car looked the same last week as well. He doesn't like the weight comes standard. It must look like that when he actually performs.
It's pretty much the first thing he does. He has a look at the car, says, nah,
Don't like it.
Rearranges it, and for some reason this game's got a glitch that when the repair gets, or the damage gets repaired, we don't always see it on screen. Most of the time we do, but sometimes the car just appears to be broken and it's not. And he gets this glitch most of the time, so you'll see him driving around in a broken car for a majority of the race. Let's go back to the front, still the same at the top. Wazzy on provisional pole, 126.5, followed by Talkie.
Gaspik I see is also out on track now.
Followed by Nizmax, and then Munna in fourth. He's making a bit of a return. He's been away from the wheel for at least a week. So no practice going into this race, no preparation going into this race. He's gonna be a little bit out of his comfort zone. Not able to get that car perfectly set up the way he would normally. Gavin out on track, currently fifth. He'll want to improve on that time, 127.2, get himself down into the 126s, into the mix of things.
And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it as it is, and people can kill me for that. But if Gaspik can get his head out of his ass, he can also be a race winner. At the moment the concentration is not there, and I'm actually saying it, looking at him in other racing formats as well. Not the best performance, and I mean, you talk about a previous league race winner. I mean, he won the whole league, not just with a single race, several races he won that season. If he can just get his head straight and focus again, he can also be up there.
You can see it in F1 as well. I mean, he's had multiple races where he doesn't do much. He doesn't make much of an appearance on
Safwan. Hello, Safwan.
Much of an impact on the race, but you'll get to the next race and he can take pole and lead into turn one and never look back.
There for Gav, he's just not making those turns, and again dives into the pit. The corner keeps catching him out there.
Still trying to get that successful lap. Obviously SAF1, that is Quinton, that is previously known as Quintonator. He just changed his PSN.
Yeah, just for the guys who's not used to that, of course, same guy, just a different name. Of course, for Quinton should have given it away already. Of course, he will also be back in action tomorrow night in F1. Understand he is back. He will obviously want to get into things before the season gets in too far.
We have lost Gavin,
and
as far as somebody else as well.
Yes, correct. Wazi, Toki, Nismax, there's the Muna, the Judge, Chen, Devin, Attie. Attie is still there, surprisingly. I thought he might have, but we still have Attie.
Not 100% sure who.
And we still got War Machine. He earlier looked like he disconnected, but he's there. War Machine's definitely still there.
Down to 9 runners for the time being, just over 5 minutes remaining. Guys can go out and have their final run, have their final go at it.
Raptor disconnected. It's Raptor we're missing.
So obviously those guys still have 5.5 minutes to get back into this lobby, to get back into qualifying. Unfortunately, unlike the F1 game, their lap times will be deleted if they rejoin the lobby, so they will start from the back.
I think I'd rather take that than not being able to race.
But they will be able to start the race. Obviously, once we pass that loading screen at the end of qualifying, if you're not back in, see you next week Thursday.
Unfortunately, it's a bit harsh, but that's how it is. And also, of course, in the race, if you disconnect, that's it, you're out. You can't come back and reclaim your car like with F1.
Still in second, that 126.8 flat. Screen just jumping a little bit, hope that's not the internet.
Very closely between the top 4.
There's Max still third, 126.9. Then Muna, 126.9 as well. Those two rivals, nothing in it, in between their 1 lap quali pace.
Looks like Wazi and Toki is going to take it to Nismax and Muna tonight.
Just over 4 minutes left. On those two going in for their final runs. Muna has taken provisional pole,
and Gaspik has rejoined and he's going out. Raptors also rejoined.
Look at that. We were just talking about that rivalry, and Munna goes first, Nismax goes second, separated by 1/10 of a second.
Those two. And it's
126-1, 126-2.
That's been pretty much the case last season. And of course, I think we would have had the same if it wasn't that Munna unfortunately had to miss the previous 2 races because of work commitments.
Matching each other to a T. Toki still down in fourth.
But he's still less than a second behind. So there's still pretty much anything can happen. Race of course is a full hour. Anything can happen in an hour. And it usually does.
It's a 1 hour race, very different format to Formula 1, especially when you consider you've got to consider fuel, you've got to consider your pit stops. Pit stops can be well over a minute stationary if you've got damage on the car, so
bit of grass
things can change quickly, and a minute's lead could mean nothing.
Correct. If Gavpik is to start at the back, can he be patient enough to build from there rather than just trying to push it and try to win the race in the first corner type of thing?
It's going to be a tough one. There's no AI drivers here. Obviously, every driver that he passes on the way to the front is going to be a human driver that wants to win this just as badly as he does.
And he's got his teammate Raptor there with him to keep him company.
Now we've got just over 2 minutes remaining on the clock. Let's have a look. Munna is out on circuit. Nismax, nothing, still in the pits there. Was he out on circuit? As I say that, he pops into the pits. I love it when they do that, make me look like a moron. Toki still in fourth. And then Judge out on circuit, currently in fifth. He's got a bit of a gap to those top 4. He's going to try and close that gap. As you can see,
he's
chosen not to go the panel beating route on that car. He just he likes the design. He's going to go with it.
Yeah, first look is his favorite.
I really wouldn't be surprised if he started the race looking like that. Chen in the pits, no movement there from him. Just looking over a minute remaining. So. The
pretty much the guys
in the pits
now. Exactly what I want to say. They're not going to be able to post another lap, so it's just pretty much the 5 on track at the moment.
Guys in the pits have accepted their fate, have accepted that position. Toki goes over the line. Is he going to be able to improve? Currently a 126.8.
Still fourth.
Nothing for now. He did get over the line with just over a minute remaining, so he will get another lap if he has enough fuel in that car to do so. Attie also out on circuit. War Machine out on circuit, currently 9th.
And Gavpik is not having a good night. Not working for him tonight. Disconnected again.
And then Force getting out on circuit. He's got that 2 grid place penalty, so
where he is now is not going to make a difference. He will stay where he is.
Really needs to qualify better than 8th to not start last. It's got to be a substantial improvement, and as I say that, he visits the gravel trap, so there won't be an improvement there.
Nope.
No movement in the top 4. Highest ranked driver currently on track is this man here, the Judge. Will go over the line with a second remaining, so I think he does get another lap. If he's gonna go for it.
I don't think he only got like 106 seconds to go. Like a minute 40, maybe, just maybe.
War Machine decides against it. He comes into the pits, so he won't improve.
So we're just waiting for the Judge.
Something tells me he's still gonna give it everything on this lap. Seems like he's throwing that car around a little bit. Let's have a look what he can do. Let's what can we do here with the camera angles? Wonder if he's just maybe backing off a little bit. I know that this particular driver likes to drive in cockpit view, so that is what he sees. and it's not much.
Actually sounds nice to drive on board.
So now he enters into the final. Such a difficult final corner.
Hey.
When you think you're through it and you start to accelerate, you're not through it yet. Unable to improve. It's going to stay at 127.80. We start in 5th, and that is the end of qualifying. We wait for the results to come up on screen. I'll read them to you. So there's your top 3. That's Muna, Nizmax, and Wazzy. That is your top 3. Then in 4th, Toki. 5th, the judge. 6th, Chen. Then we've got Devon in 7th, 88th, War Machine in 9th. Raptor will be starting from last, and then unfortunately, doesn't seem like Gavin has made his way back.
No, unfortunately not.
Seems like he will be missing round 3. Now just bear with us. Let's see, if you've watched one of our streams before, you'll be familiar. Now the drivers just take their time to finish their final preparations on the car.
Of course, select the right track gear, right tyres.
Final changes to the setup, final changes to the fuel setup, what tyre you may be starting on. And we should be underway in the next couple of minutes. Nothing in it there at the top. If you look at those top 2, Muna followed by Nizmax, just a 1/10 of a second covers the top 2. And I think it's going to have a lot to do with who gets into turn 1 first. If it follows season 1, then Muna will get into turn 1 first. But can't say much about season 2. Muna wasn't in round 2, but in round 1 didn't have a good start in that B8, so might just play on his mind.
Commentator's curse, but I'm going to say it anyway. Nizmax unfortunately not the best of starts in the previous races. Of course, Toki took full advantage last week. Let's see what he can do tonight differently, and of course, if he can get a much better one to make sure he stays there. I
will commentate this curse the hell out of these guys, because I know most of them don't listen to it, you know. So they'll just have this unexplained retirement, but if they ever go back in the stream, they'll
understand it was you.
They'll understand. I probably said how well they were driving or something like that, and that was the end of that. Obviously, if you look at the top of your screen, you'll see 59 minutes is starting to tick down.
I want to say, there we go, you can just confirm it.
It'll probably continue to tick down to about 57 minutes, 58.5 minutes, somewhere there. And then we'll be on our way. Guys just doing their final setups. Clock will reset to 60 seconds. And then we'll be underway. 60 minutes. If it was 60 seconds, even I'd be in this race. You just need to worry about getting to the end.
One lap.
But unfortunately, I can get around an F1 car on a Friday night, but these things are just not my. In fact, I did a few laps of the race, and I was only 20 seconds off the pace. So
just only.
so definitely improvement. I've only had the game for a year. I shouldn't have said that. Although I have not played it for a year.
They have tried at the start of the season to try to get you in here, so yeah, we might do it again. Tried getting in for season 3.
Might give it a shot at some stage.
Yeah, just practice and have a go. Have fun.
But, the thing is, I'm finally starting to get pace on the F1, and it feels like when I play this and I jump back in an F1 car, the F1 car was terrible. So, yeah, it's just 2 very, very different games, and trying to manage one is difficult enough, and bouncing between the 2, that's what makes the guys here in the top 4 so good.
Yeah, I remember a time when we had the Gran Turismo and this shooting all in 1 week. There we go. The seats 0-0, so everybody, we're about to start. 3, 2, 1, go! And Nizmax with a much better start this time round. Muna still in front, getting away cleanly. Coming down into the first corner. Toki's going to have a look on the inside of Nismax, and he makes a stick. Nismax goes a little bit wide there.
It's going to allow Wazzy.
Also allows Wazzy,
well,
yes.
Wazzy up into second now. He manages to get past Toki.
Yes, Toki third. We got Nismax down to fourth, but Judge is still hanging in there in fifth. Of course, Chen is going to keep him company through this next couple of corners. Raptor with a good start, up to 8th.
Nicely done for Raptor. He's up to 8th. He started from last. War Machine, our debutant, he's in 9th place where he started. Hasn't lost any positions. Attie.
Oh, back there we go, losing it. Spinning off.
That wasn't even commentator's curse. I just said AD. That's all I did was said AD. I didn't need to say anything. I didn't even need to comment how well he was driving. Here we go. Muna still leading this race now by 1.6 seconds. He got the superior
like
start.
A gap, already a decent gap between him and Wazzy.
Whereas Nismax has already come under pressure from the guys behind him, getting in a bit of a smattering of cars. And it's just allowing Muna to get a bit of a cushion. 1.7 seconds in a endurance race means absolutely nothing, especially when you've got 58 minutes remaining.
Toki gooiing Wazzy some lights way, showing him that he's way. Ooh, Muna, this Max doesn't like that corner, and actually the judge is putting him under pressure there. The judge is going to have a look, and he does make it stick. Of course, these two had an awesome battle last week, so the judge will be confident to have a go in this match here.
Judge now up to 4th place. He can start his attempt to chase down Toki, who's currently in 3rd.
Of course, the two of them had an awesome battle themselves back in race 1 at Branch Hatch. So yeah, so it can be like a prediction for you guys what's going to come up. Of course, Toki is keeping Wazzy honestly in front, right in the back of that rear bumper.
Here we go, that is the battle you speaking of. Toki chasing down Wazzy right on the bumper as they go through that tight chicane. It's a very difficult chicane, and you got to change direction a lot quicker than you think. And these cars aren't as
nimble.
They're not as nifty as you think, especially if you're coming from an F1 game. They go around this final corner, as I mentioned in qualifying, such a difficult corner. When you think you're through the corner and you begin to accelerate away, you realize, no, there's a lot more turn there.
Corner is actually closing in on you. Not as open as you thought initially.
Nismax down in 4th place.
Yeah, he actually gained back his 4th place from the judge.
Been able to come back. This has allowed Toki to get a bit of a cushion. They're in 3rd place.
And Wazzy actually got a little bit away from him now.
Top 3 just breaking up a little bit. I saw a puff of dust there on the right hand side. I wonder if that was Muna just going a little bit too far on the curb and clipping a bit of grass.
And Raptor with a penalty.
Raptor was the only man in qualifying to pick up a penalty. He becomes the first man in the race to pick up a penalty.
Surely won't be the only one, but definitely the first one.
Another man to bring up the penalty is your leader, the Muna. He's got a penalty, and now another one. So as we say it, the screen starts lighting up with penalties. Let's just bring up your timing screen to have a look what's going on. Raptor's got a 2-second time penalty, then Judge and Muna just with that 1-second time penalty, but 55 minutes remaining, and you got to remember you don't want those to add up, because by the end of the race you could have 10 seconds against your name, and could be the difference between a win and a second.
Of course, a very long way to go. But if the race were to stop now, Wazzy would win because of that second penalty. Because Wazzy actually closed the gap down nicely to Muna, and just a moment ago 1.8. Now it's only 700.
Wonder if that's
710. Sorry.
I wonder if the way this time has closed down between Wazzy and Muna, I wonder if that was just Muna making a little bit of a mistake, and that's why he picked up the penalty.
And again, there was a bit of dust coming up.
maybe just going off track at somewhere where we did not see, and picking up that 1 second time penalty for his troubles, and then losing time anyway. But he's picked up that gap back to 1.6 seconds. Just needs to get his head down.
Just so that gap opens up, Boise actually pulls him in a bit, but when he gets away again.
This Max now down to 6th place, not having the best time of it. Started this
Raptor.
race from 2nd, and
the judge back in 4th, Raptor now in 5th.
Got mugged in the first corner.
Oh, oh, Nismac eats the inside of Raptor.
Not the best camera angle, but
that was all Nismac's.
It was a mistake. Now Nismac just
big mistake
slowing down. I think he's
he's actually
waiting
for Raptor. Yeah,
waiting for Raptor. Wants Raptor to go by. This is a mistake there. Just unfortunate. Still a long way to go. An endurance race. Lots of things can happen.
Oh, and Raptor goes into the pit. Of course, he saw the gap on the inside. There was space, but of course, as you said earlier, not the easiest of tracks in some of these corners, and some of them are a lot tighter than what you think. And these cars are not as nifty, so of course they were not turning on a penny. So yeah, Wazzy should see if he can. You know, he's still there pretty much under a second. He's just not getting closer than that. Of course, one thing catching, it's another getting past Muno. So far, he didn't put much of a foot wrong. Of course, here and there, a bit of dust kicking up, but nothing major.
Some people say you just need to stay there and wait for the mistake, but the other problem is you need to make sure you don't make any mistakes of your own.
Correct.
Getting really close now. 0.6 of a second is the gap.
You see some dust going up again.
So they go down the straight into turn 1.
Downtown.
See, Donington was once the host of the European Formula 1 Grand Prix. That was in 1993, and it was. I remember this Grand Prix because it was sponsored by, you'll never guess who it was sponsored by. It was in the actual title of the race. That was the Sega Grand Prix of Europe.
Sure.
And that was, that was at Donington in 1993, and it's also home of one of the greatest laps of all time. Ayrton Senna making up, I think, 5 or 6 positions in a single lap. In the wet around here, so
it was another guy that could race in the wet.
Apparently, Ayrton Senna, when Ayrton Senna arrived in Europe, that was his biggest downfall. Was whenever it rained, he was terrible. He was nowhere near anybody else, and he was such a perfectionist that he absolutely couldn't take it that there was this bad part of his driving that just wasn't up to scratch. And he had like a friend or a family member or a friend of a family member or something like that basically worked at a go-kart track, and he used to go there, and this guy used to switch on the sprinklers, and Senna would just go around in his go-kart for hours. And that's where he got his race. That's where he got his rain driving from, was driving around in a go-kart in the wet.
Gap up to over 1.5 again. But it's just not as, when he gets close, unfortunately there's some sort of gap opens up again when it's about starting all over, closing it again. And now more than once happened where Wazzy actually caught Muna just for that gap to open up again.
Really difficult, as we've mentioned before. These cars not very nifty, they're not very quick at changing direction, they're a bit clunky, a bit clumsy. And now when you get on the gearbox of the driver in front of you, and you've got to concentrate on obviously number one, keeping your own car on circuit. Number two, you need to be in the best position for if the person in front of you makes that mistake, you can capitalize. But these cars just aren't very, that direction change is just not very friendly, and as soon as you get close to somebody, it seems like Wazzy gets close and just falls back again. He has closed that gap back to within a second. Like I say, when you get close, you just see that drop. Every 2 or 3 laps, he drops back by about a second, and then reclaims it again. It's just a bit difficult to get these cars side by side.
Disconnect here. We actually lost another driver. It looks like War Machine. War Machine is gone. And Raptor also disconnected, so we're down to 8 drivers.
Still have War Machine on my
okay, no, sorry, where's War Machine? War Machine showing, sorry, Raptor's gone. We lost the pig earlier and we lost someone else as well. Just trying to figure out quickly. Okay, so Judge.
Lost Raptor and Gavin so far. Had 11 drivers when this began.
So we're missing one more.
That would probably be Attie.
Attie, there we go. Attie is gone. Attie is the other one out. So we lost Attie, we lost Raptor, and we lost Gapik. Of course, they will not be able to come back and reclaim.
That gap at the front now starting to expand to 1.9 seconds.
And they'll put someone to over 2 seconds.
Gap getting a bit bigger for the first time really in this race. Talkie still in third, holding on to that podium position. Judge in fourth, really able to make ground on that podium for now. Don't know what the guys are doing with their fuel. Obviously, we've got 8 drivers on track. They could all have different fuel strategies. They could all have exactly the same fuel strategy. We don't know. Some of these guys will be running very light. Some will be running very heavy. And just not really sure why was he starting to fall back now. And the few times he did get close,
can be tires, because if he chose soft, the soft is not the most reliable, because not too far in it starts going off, and it goes off quickly.
There's Max in 7th.
Oh, further down.
About a minute behind 6th place, so he's obviously spent some time in the pits that we did not see, that we missed. Devin currently on screen. See now the race just beginning to settle down, guys settling into their positions, gaps opening up, not that many battles out on track. This is when the endurance race starts to become about about strategies. Who's going to be in the basically who's going to make the least amount of pit stops, and who's going to be in the pits for the least amount of time.
All about who can play that longer game the best.
All you really need is a really long pit stop, and it's the end of that.
And goodbye races, correct.
So obviously just disappointing that we lost 3 drivers. Obviously in project cars too, if you're familiar with the game, you'll know that once you leave the lobby because of an internet connection, you cannot rejoin.
Correct. Oh, Toki and Nismax, if I'm not mistaken, Nismax trying to unlap himself.
I wonder if he got damaged there.
Slammed in the back of Toki there.
Looks like Toki's got damage at the back of that car, looking a bit... we've lost another driver.
Nice, and Nismax not having the best of races here.
Down to 7 drivers.
War Machine is now out. This time he disconnected. War Machine is gone.
Fortunately, our David son from the States, he has also succumbed to the internet connection. Just 7 drivers remain. It's under 45 minutes.
Hey, nice try, Dan. But yeah, internet is not the friendliest person tonight. Grumpy as hell, a lot of people are feeling it.
Devin's still in this race, he's in 6th place.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, and I agree. The magical poof. One moment you see me, the next moment you don't.
Gap at the front starting to come down again, going back towards that 1.5 seconds mark. So throughout the whole race, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are running similar fuel strategies. They seem to be able to match each other's pace at similar times in the race. I think it's going to be a tough one, and I think Wazzy's going to keep Muna on his toes. Obviously, in the absence of Max, who's currently running at the back, not having the best night.
Nope.
Lots of things can happen. He's obviously made a very early pit stop. We don't know what he's done with that pit stop. What strategies he may have changed. May have thrown a whole bunch of fuel in that car and goes deep into this race as he possibly can and finish on the top. I really don't know.
And thanks for joining,
splash and dash at the end.
And don't be sorry about that. Unfortunately, you know, the state that internet at the moment is in, it's, yeah, it can happen to anybody. Don't have much control over it.
So now we wait. Next time we will see some switches on the track. It's probably going to be when we see a whole flurry of cars begin to come into the pits. If they are indeed on similar strategies, we'll see them all come into the pits probably over the space of 5 or 6 laps. But I think from that gap between Chen and Nismax, it really tells me that Nismax has already spent substantial time in the pits.
Almost a full minute behind you.
I don't know if that's an internet problem or if his car is just a little all over the track.
He did actually unlap him, but now Toki is ahead of him again.
One of the only driver in the top 3 with no penalties. Actually in the top 4 with no penalties. Man in second. That could come into play if he keeps that gap to the leader small enough. That penalty that Muna has can come into play. Let's just have a look at that timing screen, make sure nothing's changed. It has changed.
Muna,
look at
15.
The penalty for Muna. Look at the penalty for Muna. It's a big one.
If he stays as is now, Wazi will leapfrog him.
See if things were to end at this very second, Toki would almost leapfrog him. So that's a big penalty to have with still more than 50% of the race to go. If he keeps up that average, he's going to have off a minute by the end of the race.
Bit of a moment there for Wazi under braking, but he managed to keep together and on his way again. Still keeping it there at the 2-second mark, just like the under. Not letting Muna get away. Of course, as it is now, he will be the winner because of that penalty. So Tokyo also just need to find some pace so that he can get closer to Wazi, so that he's actually within that 15-second range of Muna, because then he can also leapfrog him like you just said.
See all the drivers you see there on the top left hand side of your screen with red blocks next to their name. Those drivers have penalties against their name. Obviously some more than others. Currently the biggest penalty on track is the Muna.
Correct.
It's a 15-second penalty followed by the judge who's racked up 4 seconds, and then Toki's got 2 seconds of his own. This max just the 1 second. It could still play in his favour later on in the race if he's able to come back in this. One is going to want to keep this car on track. Like I say, just before the race, spent about 20 minutes out on track. Wasn't taking things too seriously, went out on the controller, but I did 7 or 8 laps and not one of them was valid. So very easy to get invalidated laps, very easy to go off circuit, and I'm sure that's what all these penalties are about. I think it's not necessarily... I don't think it's necessarily guys taking chances and going for corner cuts, looking for time and acquiring penalties along the way. I think it's just mistakes, running wide, going off track. I mean, in fact, you get an invalidated lap for running wide at that final corner. So...
Muna's in the pits.
There is your previous race leader. He's led the race from the start. He started on pole, now he's come into the pits, so he relinquishes the lead for the first time. That has promoted Wazzy. Now the interesting thing will be, can he make the most of this? No longer has a car in front of him for the first time in the race. He's got a clear track ahead of him, and if he can just get 2 or 3 flyers down, while Muna will obviously come out of the pits on cold tyres, with I'm sure having put some sort of fuel in the car. So the car is going to be heavy, it's going to have cold tyres, and if he can just get 2 or 3 flyers here, he could very well come out in the lead. That gap was only 2 seconds. So we don't know how long Wazzy will spend in the pits, and when he'll go into the pits. Try and keep our eye on your leader. So we know exactly when that pit stop happens. It's not going to happen now because he's on the pit straight going for another lap. Maybe just give the next couple of laps everything he's got.
To see what he can put together before he has to stop.
Try and come out in the lead once he's made his pit stop. Judge has been promoted in the meantime. He's currently in 3rd place, having a, say, a bit of a lonely race. Doesn't have damage to his car, so very uncharacteristic. Chen in 4th, and then this was your leader. He's down in 5th, started the race from pole. He's got that 15-second penalty to worry about as he comes through the field. And then his main championship contender not having the best of days either. Down in 7th place,
even further down. Now more than a minute, almost 2 minutes.
So the top 10 do pick up points, so everybody who does finish this race will pick up points. We started with the 11 drivers. 4 of them have come to the internet.
There's 36 minutes left, just over half an hour, almost half distance.
Daniel, thanks for coming through and watching the stream. Great to see you in the comment section, getting involved. Some guys would disconnect and rather disappear. Good to see you still taking part in some form. Let's see you back next week. I'm a terrible commentator, I don't check any of my stuff that I'm supposed to check. So Johan, tell him what race we're having next week. Do you know what race we're having?
Actually, as a matter of fact, okay, actually as a matter of fact, I do.
Where are we going next week? What track is round 4?
Okay, it's actually Sportsland Sugu.
I don't know where that is.
Same here, I don't know the track.
That's a first for me. I don't know the track. It doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, not a lot. The one coming afterwards, that one we definitely know.
That's going to be interesting. He's commentating on F1 2020.
Yeah, with the new tracks coming.
you're gonna have 2 tracks there that you're gonna have absolutely no statistics for. Well, I suppose you can have for Holland quite a track that's been around for many years. It hasn't been on the F1 calendar for the longest time.
Correct.
But good to see Formula 1 making a return at some of its more traditional venues. And hopefully in the future that will lead to a Grand Prix on the African continent.
Yeah.
And hopefully right where it should be. The
Chen,
home of motor
Chen not
racing.
happy with the advertising post there, just the tries for it.
And has made his way up to 3rd.
Chen, Devon and Wazi, the only guys with no penalties.
Your leader has been able to keep things clean, been able to keep all 4 wheels on track for the most part, hasn't picked up any penalties. So that tells me he's had a relatively clean race. You can't see them on your screen. I can see them on mine. On that, on the top left-hand side where you've got your drivers listed there. Every now and then, next to the lap time, I get because I'm in director mode, so I get a bunch of exclamation marks. And sometimes it lights up against, like, if there's 7 drivers, yeah, like 6 of the drivers will have exclamation marks against the name, and those are invalidated laps. Those are where you've jumped a corner, and
Correct, yeah.
I don't understand the penalty system in this game. I haven't played it enough to understand it, but I don't know if you do it a couple of times, then eventually it results in a penalty, or if you basically slow down enough not to gain an advantage, if you can avoid the penalty, because that's basically what they do on the MotoGP game. If you go off track, if you slow down enough, that by the time you get on track, any of the time you may have made up is now gone, then the penalty falls away. So if you get a,
was he really in the groove tonight? He's really actually in the groove tonight. Hardly made mistakes and a solid drive, and he's really stretching this stint now.
If you're joining us tonight for the stream, and if you're watching for the first time, I don't know if you're watching for the first time, but you're being treated tonight. You're being treated to TNB Wazi without, I'm not going to say the brand name. I almost did.
without the uncle.
I just realized we can get a copyright strike for just saying a brand. But if you're in on the joke, you'll know Charles. And Wazi has not visited Charles today. And as a result, he leads this race by 27 seconds.
And he's as straight as a pole.
Fantastic.
And it's actually paying a dividend tonight.
Don't know if that will be the case tomorrow night when you commentate on
That's if he's not
round 2 of TNB F1.
That's if he's not hijacked.
That's tomorrow night, obviously, over on the TNB YouTube channel. My co-commentator Johan, he will be commentating on that race. I won't be in the commentary box. I'll be trying to drive an F1 car. Yeah, actually wish it was China again. We could just repeat China. China was good to me.
Oh, you had a good race.
End there.
Right at the
end. At the end there, but I'm not even feeling bad about the end there, because in my head, you know, I'm going to be like Vettel. Vettel in his head won the Canadian Grand Prix. So in my head, I finished second there. I literally retired with about a meter and a half away from the start finish line.
Ooh. I see Daniel talks about the brotherhood of a magical poof. Him and the rest of the guys are disconnected. So if they the magical poof, then because we obviously had, you know, anchors being dragged. So then whoever operated the ship who caused the damage, and surely that ship captain must be called David Blaine, because he ultimately made the magic happen.
I think what we really need to do is figure out a point
And why is he
structure.
firing the guys into the pits?
Was he coming into the pits, leading the race by 24 seconds? That means that the man in second will be promoted to the lead. That's currently the judge. If he doesn't come into the pits, will lead this race. Just keep an eye on Wazzy. Let's see how long he is stationary for. Obviously, he stayed out longer than his...
I didn't see much damage, so it's obviously just about fuel and tires, putting in a lot of fuel. I think his aim is to go right to the end. Looking at the timing, he stopped as well, so half an hour stint pretty much.
Stopped right in the middle of the... Right in the middle of the race, 50% distance. Taking a little bit to get going. This is probably... I wonder if there's a little damage on there. He's going to want to come out ahead of this man here, the Munna. He was leading the race when he went into the pits. Gave Wazzy the lead. Wazzy went on to do a couple of laps with free air ahead of him with nothing to hold him up. Was he able to make the most of it? As I say that, the little exclamation mark popping up next to Munna's name again. We're going to have to keep our eyes on those. Keep our eyes on those penalties.
Speaking of which, Mr. Race Director, can we have an update?
Let's have a look at that update of the timing screen.
Ooh, up to 17 now.
Has increased. Munna leads the race. That penalty was 15 seconds. It's now 17 seconds, and he's going to have to keep his eyes on that. I don't think there's much he can do about it now, but he's got to keep it in mind. Let's just get this timing screen off your screen so we can see what's going on. Saw a bit of a mess there in the background. Judge currently in second. Munna leads this race. Toki third, doing a good job holding stuff together. This man here, he will now be on what I suppose will be his final run. He has no plans as far as he came in with 30 minutes remaining, so it's a dead giveaway that was a one pit stop strategy, and now he's going to go to the end. He's got a fresh set of tires, and that car will just get lighter as the race goes on. So it's just going to feel...
It's just going to feel
better and better.
Didn't bog him over and put him on the wrong tires.
And obviously, it's going to...
Won't be the first time.
Count a lot what happens here in front of him. In fact, if things were to remain... If things ended like this right now, Wazzy is 20 seconds adrift of Munna. That gap is 17 seconds. So he would almost win the race from this position. You
actually, as it is now.
So he is in the pound seat, just needs to get his head down, close his gap as much as he can.
The judge, Toki and Wazzy can actually ultimately leapfrog the Munna thanks to those penalties.
Wazzy, if you're listening to this, you're in the pound seat. Really just needs to get his head down. Technically, he doesn't even have to pass half of these guys on track to win this race.
Just chase him down, stay within range.
Just needs to chase them down, keep them within a viewing distance, because the penalties are bigger than a viewing distance. It's 17 seconds. So he just needs to stay near them, and he will claim victory in Donington Park, but still a long time to go, 25 minutes. Let's go further down your field and have a look at the drivers we haven't given too much coverage to. Chen down in 5th place, having also a bit of a lonely race, uneventful really, just keeping to himself, knows what he needs to do. Wants to bring the car home, get some points, get a good result. I wonder if the guys have started thinking yet about round 5. Round 5 we will be using this very car for the last time this season. Obviously we're using these cars for the first 5 rounds, and then we will change over for the final 5 rounds. At that last round 5, the last time we will use these cars, that's going to be a 2-hour endurance race, and that's when strategies can really come into play. Can make a little mathematical error on that fuel and make yourself look very silly, and things get a little bit more difficult. You see, we haven't seen any weather in this game. That is something that that can change things as well. But
Decision
I
was
think
made to
the
leave it
guys
clear, yeah.
I think the guys in the V8s are very happy not to encounter any rain.
Of course, last season saw weather change and, of course, day night as well. That was quite awesome.
Actually enjoyed that concept of accelerating the time. We would start the race basically when the sun was going down, have a majority of the race at night, and finish the race when the sun was coming up. So I enjoyed that. Enjoyed the lights, different aspect of it. But if you practice the track during the day and then go do the race at night, it really everything looks a little different. Found that out once when I practiced for Singapore for like 4 days, but time trial was set today. So when I got to the race, couldn't find any of my braking points.
We're down to only 2 drivers with no penalties.
Was he still one of those drivers? Devin, the other driver. So we don't have Ronald here. Ronald is synonymous for no penalties.
One of the guys that you can actually see the clean sheet next to at the end of a race on a Friday evening.
Sometimes you can have an entire field with penalties next to their names, and
saw that before.
he scarcely has a warning. So very clean driver, keeps it on track. As he currently in 4th, that gap to the leader 20 seconds.
I must say, Daniel, I didn't know you stay in South Africa. See Daniel there cheering on Toki, and he's cheering him on from Poofland. Of course, he means something completely different. If you say Poofland, I know you mean your magic, but if you would, from our point of view, if I would say Poofland, it means something completely different.
Wazzy has gone up into 3rd place.
The judge comes
into the pits.
Yeah, correct. And I suspect Toki and Vamuna might also stop again. I don't see Vamuna's tires lasting him right to the end. Not even sure about the fuel load there.
The same, the penalties there. As Max, that penalty has grown. Last time we saw it was a second at 7 seconds.
The judge keeping it at 4 seconds still.
The judge hasn't increased his penalties much since the start of the race. He got those 4 seconds
quite early, yeah.
Within the first 15 minutes or so.
And he kept it like that.
Leader at the front is the winner. He leads this race by 14.5 seconds. That's not going to be enough to win this race. He's got a 17-second penalty, which means Toki would win this race in its current state. I think that's wrong, actually. Toki's got penalties of his own.
Correct. But it's only 2.
He's got 2 seconds.
He's still just within the gap, so he can still win it if he finishes like he is now.
That would take the gap up to 16 seconds, meaning he'd win the race by a second. And then, he just wants to close that gap a little bit more, close it. He obviously doesn't know about the 17-second penalty.
Correct.
But if he knew, he'd be concentrating on that gap and just getting it under 17 seconds, because he can basically win the race from there. I'm almost certain that Toki will come in again.
Oh, the judge is in the pit again.
Wonder what happened there. Sometimes
like
coming into the pits and not getting fuel, getting out on track and realizing they didn't put fuel in your car, they didn't change the tires.
Correct. I think that is exactly what might have happened. I was going to say that, which of course Mismatch was a victim to as well last week.
We've seen that same thing happen to Gavin in season 1. Where he went into the pits and they just didn't put fuel in the car, or he didn't select it, whatever it was, and he had to come in the very next lap. And the amount of time it takes to have a pit stop in this game, having 2 in 2 laps is really not what you want to do. Winner still leads. Led for a majority of the race.
Wazzy did get closer. He's now hovering on that 4-second margin between him and Toki. Toki, of course, with a 4-second penalty. If Wazzy can get it down 4, he will actually get second place.
I wonder if Toki is aware of that penalty. Currently, you can call it provisionally leading the race.
Ooh.
As the time stands, Toki is the true leader of the race. Gets around some traffic there. And that didn't look like it cost him too much time. And still at the front. Ride with Devon, currently in 7th place. Need to bring home some points, 20 minutes, 19 minutes actually, remain on the clock.
And Wazzy is actually getting that gap now closer to 18 seconds. And talking to the pits, that will promote Wazzy into second.
Now Wazzy up into second place. Remember that 17-second penalty, that gap 18.7 seconds, so nothing in it.
Pretty much 1.8. He still need to gauge somewhere. Make it 1.9 seconds, then he will definitely be in that bracket he wants to be. Only 18 minutes remaining.
What are the plans here for Munna? I wonder if he is aware of the full extent of his penalties. Wonder if he knows it's 17 seconds, or maybe he thinks it's less. But if he can hear me, the gap between first and second is technically it's 1.1 seconds.
Yeah.
You just can't see that on track, but penalties wise, and that's just gone down. So gap between first and second is 9/10 of a second. He's got to keep that gap above 17 seconds if he wants to win this race, and he needs to make sure he doesn't add anything to that column.
That gap is now actually just 17. Oh, and Munna dies into the pit. That will well and truly promote Wazzy into first place.
Don't see him making another pit stop if he doesn't have any serious issues. Came in with 30 minutes remaining. Everything suggests a one-stop strategy and that he's going to the end.
Always expecting Munna to stop again because he stopped so early first time round. So I think this should sort out Wazzy.
Moted now into the lead, so we don't need to worry about penalties, we don't need to worry about maths. Munna has fallen back into the field. There we go, he's come out of the pits, he's in second, so he hasn't lost too much track position. He's going to want to keep an eye on that gap to Toki, 21 seconds at the moment. It is enough, finish ahead of Toki.
Of course, Toki with a time penalty of his own.
2 seconds of his own. So really for that to take effect he would need to finish I think 14 seconds within a minute, and that gap is currently 22, so you're gonna have to find 6 seconds somewhere in the next 16 minutes. Not easy to find time on this track. 2 drivers out on track with no penalties. That is your leader and your man in last place. Everyone in between has got some sort of penalty, ranging from 2 seconds to 17 seconds. Man just seems to be in tune with Donington Park. Just seems to have figured out this track quicker than everybody else, got in tune with it, and it just feels right. Doing everything nicely. Remember, he is on a controller. A lot of the guys using wheels, showing that it can be done on a controller.
Definitely possible.
Can be done, and it can be done at you know, not just competitive. You can win on a controller. It doesn't all come down to the wheel. It's about how you set up that car and what you feel is right.
Of course, another person, if it comes to controller, you can just take a controller and switch on immediately, is Vamuna.
Definitely, he raised up the ranks of TND, gaining speed, becoming one of our fastest drivers, and all of that was done on a controller. He's recently moved over to the wheel.
Only recently.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, somewhere there.
More or less.
And still getting up to speed. You seem to lose a bit of time when you do the switch. Takes a while to get used to it. Hasn't lost a lot of speed on this game. The F1 he's had 1 or 2 headaches with, but with this game he's practically matching his controller pace already. So, and he did from his first practice session. So I think in his first practice session with the wheel, he beat his controller time. So
he's definitely chasing down. Wazzy, gap is now under 10 seconds. Because at the 17 stall.
Means we could see these two on track next to each other by the time this race comes to a conclusion. 13.5 minutes remaining on the clock. And then we will know who is the winner here at round 3. Our second British round in this championship. Second British round in 3 rounds.
Just looking at how the gap comes down, how many minutes. He might actually catch up with Wazzy, but passing of course will be something else. And if he does pass, how quick? I don't think there's enough time to cancel out that 17 seconds.
Just don't think there's enough time. The only way would be if Wazzy came in for a pit stop, which I
doubt it.
I don't see why he would. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And then even if he is able to get past Wazzy, he's going to have to open that gap beyond 17 seconds. He's got 12 minutes to do it.
Daniel, that would be correct. I actually have a thunderstorm here happening in my area at the moment, so what you hear is correct. It is thunder.
Johannesburg thunderstorm over on the West Strand.
Yep, probably moving over to your side of the world.
Nothing here for now. Had a serious one this afternoon. Didn't last long, just made everything humid, so thanks for that.
Thunder. Nesmax back in 7th. Devon's back up to 6 now. Chen got the head of the judge. Toki keeping it solid in 3rd. So yeah, pretty much for Muna and Wazzy for that win. But 17 seconds.
Nesmax penalties increasing from 7 to 8 and judge increasing from 4 to 5. Everyone else remaining the same for now.
If you look at the gap between these two, Wazzy and when the penalty, of course, of Muna, they added, that's like 24 seconds. Muna need to do 24 seconds in the remaining laps.
If you look at that last lap, Muna took 1.1 seconds out of Wazzy. They're absolutely flying, giving it everything in the closing stages of this race. Is he aware of those penalties?
But if you look at 24 seconds, 11 minutes remaining, that's 2 minutes a lap that he must do to cancel out that penalty as well. Because even if he passes him, if he's not cancelling out that penalty, unfortunately, it doesn't mean anything. He will still be behind.
I'm not 100% sure he knows the full extent of his penalties. And then obviously you've got to remember that whatever that penalty is, that penalty could be half a minute. You should still chase the guy down. You don't know what penalties he has.
Exactly.
He could have half a minute of his own and you could be neutral and just backing off for no reason. So got to give it everything till the end, but I wonder if he knows it's 17 seconds because he's really chasing him down. And it
Of
would
course
be an
also have
epic
a
finish.
better rubber.
It would be an epic finish if penalties were not involved.
Definitely.
Shen up to third. It's had a quiet race, but he's found himself on a podium position. Toki in fourth. 12.5 seconds adrift from the podium. Then you've got the judge in fifth place. Just 2 seconds behind Toki. He's getting a bit of company on track. Make up for his lonely race.
Might actually have some close racing, a couple of battles forming here towards the end of a race.
These battles at the end of the race can be some of the most difficult ones. You tend to forget that at the end of the race your tires aren't what they were. Your fuel loads are lighter. Cars moving around a lot more.
Ooh, and Judge going a bit wide there, but too deep.
Doesn't lose too much time, keeps the momentum. He's lucky not to go off track and find himself in the gravel. You can quickly lose 10 seconds just trying to get back on track. That gap 4.8 seconds continues to close down. Just have a look at that last lap. Muna setting a 126.7. Was he setting a 127.7? There we go. 126.6. 1.1 seconds again. So taking about a second a lap. 3.9 seconds is the gap. I think we have about another 6 laps to go in this race. We'll get to round about lap 40, lap 41 before the time runs out. About 5 laps. So about lap 41 this race will end.
40, 41, yeah. 1 or 3 seconds now. Here we go, we can see Wazzy.
Quite a daunting track, because you can see other sections of the track while you're driving, so you can see guys coming towards you, but they're on the other side. See, was once a Formula 1 venue, no longer a Grade 1 circuit, can no longer host a Formula 1 Grand Prix in its present state. The track is said to be too narrow. As is the case for Jerez in Spain. Previous venue for the European Formula 1 Grand Prix can no longer host a Formula 1 Grand Prix. It's still good enough for testing, but they say it's too narrow. It would have to be widened. I think 12 meters. I think the minimum width of a Grade 1 circuit is 12 meters. It's something. It's a lot wider than you think. Is your leader, leads this race by 1.7 seconds. Muna is coming up behind him, and there we go.
Closer and closer.
We get the view from Muna. You can see the leader in front of you. You can see Wazzy. He's not far down the road, just 1.4 seconds. Obviously, it's going to be another case to get past him. Is Wazzy aware of the penalties, or are they in a party chat together? Will he just let him go? I don't think he can make up 17 seconds in 6 minutes. Obviously, the longer you can keep him there, the better. Getting a bit wide there on the exit. You see, as he gets close, I say these cars not the easiest to drive. Moving over to cockpit view, you can see what the driver is looking at, what the driver sees. Getting really close there to the leader. And if you look up the hill there in the distance, there is some traffic. And I wonder if that traffic is going to have its part to play. I think that's Devon in the distance. It's a bright green car. Could be the judge, could be Devon. And I wonder what part he will play here. Right on the gearbox now. It's right there. He's just waiting for that mistake. Was he not making a mistake? Doing enough to stay in front? For a second there, I thought they might... It looked like it was heading for a nudge. Very different lines there going into the chicane. Was he defensive? Stays on the inside. Make sure there's no way through there for the Munna. Now going into a very deep braking right-hander. Munna staying right on the inside. Now here comes this final corner that I'm not so much a fan of. Really steep, thinks about going up the inside, wasn't quite close enough. And he'll just stay on the gearbox for now. Wait for that mistake, wait for that opportunity, that gap. And there we go, he goes up the inside, not quite yet, says Wazi, he holds on to it now, they go wheel to wheel, and he's got it, he's holding on to it for now. So my question about 2 minutes ago, will he just maybe let him go by? The answer is a clear no. He's going to fight for track position. We don't even know if Wazi is aware of Munna's penalties. So these two could be both fighting, thinking this is for track position. It's not. Still counts when you want to just win it on track, regardless of the penalty. A different line into this corner, goes wide, same as last lap. Wazi gets defensive on the inside of that chicane, closes the door, no way through. Again going for the wider line. Better than the last lap, outbraked himself in that corner a little bit in the last lap. Into the final corner. Again getting so close. It's not enough. Gap is 1/10 of a second. You can read the sponsors on the car in front of you, that's not supposed to happen. A little too wide, was he stays on the inside. Enough to stay in front. And this is some fantastic racing between these two. Let's go trackside, get a better view of things. I forgot about the time, there's just 2 minutes remaining on the clock. These two started battling and you forget about the time. 2 minutes remaining, nothing in it. Still battling 3/10 of a second, cover these top two on the track, 17 seconds, cover them according to the penalties log. Have we lost another driver? We're down to 6.
Yep, down to 6.
We're down to 6, we've lost another driver, I didn't notice that. But somebody is not with us anymore, I can't see anything on my race feed, so I'm not sure who it was. Still have the Munna in the lead.
Looks like we lost 10. Yeah, 10 is gone.
Munna has taken the lead of this race, so he leads on track. He's been able to pass Wazi eventually. We didn't see the culmination of that fight, unfortunately.
We're pretty much starting what's the last lap. I did say 14, it's pretty much going to be 40. This is going to be the last lap. Looking at your lap time, only 1 minute left, so we're going to come around and finish this lap. So if Wazi could stay with Munna here, but he will be the winner tonight.
Wazi just needs to stay close there, stay close behind. Doesn't even really need to pass him, but will he want to pass him? Definitely.
Of course.
He'll definitely want to pass him. He'll definitely want to pass him.
You don't want favours, you want to do the real thing.
Leading him on track regardless of penalties, it's means that little bit more, especially for the bragging rights. It could even spill over into tomorrow night's race for the F1. Obviously a lot of the same competitors out on track, but obviously if Wazi is able to make his way to the circuit, no guarantees there. I think 50% would be a very positive speculation. But we hope to see him on track with this sort of speed tomorrow night.
Ooh, Wazir's going to have a go on the outside. Leaving Muna enough space on the inside there. I can't talk about Muna keeps his
side by side. They're going to go into this final corner.
Wazir's going to try again. This time he will have the inside. Yep, we're going to go. We're going to go slight contact. And Wazir just tells him, okay, I'll take that. Make sure I win on track. You would have actually won it even if you didn't. Well done, Wazir.
When they did win it on track, but nicely done. Wazir just backed off at the end there.
Just giving it back.
Wazir has won this race, according to that. Let's just have a look. If anything has changed, it has.
Penalty increased as well.
That's actually increased to 19 seconds. Toki's penalty, which wasn't that serious, it was 4 seconds. It's now up to 12. Judge up to 6, and then Nizmax up to 10. So let's just wait for the final results before we read anything. Still a lot of guys out on circuit looking to finish their race. They're not quite done with proceedings. Where is Toki?
There's Toki, third place man on the podium tonight.
Just wants to...
Ooh, the judge is going to push him till the end.
Judge isn't going to give up a potential penalty just yet. Not sure what that was. It could very well just be a...
I'll call that a love tap. No, just a love tap.
It was just an internet. The internet made it look worse than it was.
Just telling him,
goes
mate,
around the final corner.
Here we go, and Toki brings it back in third.
If we look at this quickly, I think Judge took third.
Yeah, the judge actually leapfrogged him with less penalties.
I think the judge will have taken third. Toki will fall to fourth. I'll tell you in a second as the results come up. There we go, your top three. Wazir wins round 3, wins from the Munna, from the judge. That's your top 3. Judge getting a podium, nicely done. Then in 4th place, Toki, that disappeared real quick. Thanks for that. Luckily I can remember Nizmax in 5th, Devon in 6th. And there we go. There's round 3.
And actually
Thursday night.
And a nice recovery drive and some help with disconnects. Nizmax making it up to 5th. Some valuable points, damage limitation.
Well, from my side to everybody who joined the stream, everybody who watched, if you were just a driver who was listening, waiting for me to give people strategies away, whoever you were, thanks for joining, thanks for watching, thanks for participating. And from my side, I'll see you next week Thursday, and I'll leave you with Johan. See you then.
Guys, thanks for watching, thanks for the support as always, and I see Toki's fans obviously came out in their masses. Guys, thanks for the support, always nice having you part of us. Always welcome to join and be part of a chat as well and share your comments here with us. Thanks for joining, till next time, keep safe, God bless, and of course do your racing on the game or on a designated track, not on the road. Stay safe, till next week, same time, same place, cheerio.